Every night while you sleep, your liver runs the night shift. It filters your blood, processes what you ate, balances your hormones, and quietly repairs damage you did not even know was happening. And most people give it nothing to work with. They go to bed on an empty stomach or with a bag of chips, and they wonder why they wake up tired, foggy, and bloated by morning. I am a physician with more than 15 years of practice, and I have spent a good part of that career watching what happens when patients finally start paying attention to what they eat before bed, specifically what fruit they reach for. Not a pill, not a powder. Fruit. And the changes I have seen in liver enzyme numbers, in sleep quality, in inflammation markers, they are not subtle. What I am going to walk you through today is the best fruit to eat before bed if you want to support a healthy liver while you sleep. Not a random list of healthy foods. A specific answer with the science behind it, and a runner-up list of the fruits that come close so you understand the full picture. I am also going to tell you the one fruit you should absolutely stop eating at night if your liver is already under strain, because that one surprises almost every patient I tell it to. Stay with me until the end, because the number one fruit on this list is not the one you are expecting. Most people walk right past it at the grocery store without a second look. When I tell you what it does inside your liver overnight, I think you will never ignore it again. Before we go any further, I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments how old you are and whether you have ever been told your liver enzymes are elevated or your cholesterol is off. I read every comment, and what this audience tells me shapes exactly what I cover next. Now, before I name the fruit, let me make sure you understand what your liver is actually doing at night. Because if you do not understand the mechanism, the recommendation will feel like a random health tip. And this is not a random health tip. When you fall asleep, your body shifts into a state of repair. Your liver, which has been in full processing mode all day, handling everything you ate and drank and every medication you took, starts to focus on its overnight jobs. It produces bile for tomorrow's digestion. It regulates blood sugar by releasing glucose in a carefully controlled way. It clears inflammatory compounds from your bloodstream. And it works on something called lipid metabolism, which is the process of managing the fats in your blood. Here's where it gets important. The liver has a built-in antioxidant system. The centerpiece of that system is a compound called glutathione. Think of glutathione as the liver's overnight cleaning crew. It neutralizes the toxic byproducts of fat metabolism, breaks down alcohol and medications, and repairs oxidative damage to liver cells. When glutathione levels are low, the cleaning crew does not show up, and the damage accumulates night after night. The second piece of the mechanism is inflammation. There is a protein called NF-κB, and it acts like an alarm switch inside your liver cells. When it is triggered, it sends signals that cause inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation is one of the primary drivers of fatty liver disease, the condition where fat builds up inside liver cells and slowly impairs their function. By some estimates, nearly 1 in 3 adults in this country has some degree of fatty liver, and the majority of them have no idea. So, when I talk about the best fruit to eat before bed for a healthy liver, I am not talking about something that vaguely tastes healthy. I am talking about a fruit that specifically supports glutathione production, damps down that NF-κB inflammatory switch, and does it in a way the liver can actually use while you sleep. That is the lens I want you to hold for everything that follows. Now, before I get to the number one fruit, I want to walk you through the runners-up. These are real, evidence-supported choices, and depending on your situation, one of them might be a better fit for you than the top pick. Each of them works through the same general mechanism I just described. Each one is doing quiet, consistent work on your liver while the rest of your body rests. The first fruit on the list is watermelon, I know. It sounds like a summer snack, not a liver medicine. But watermelon has an unusually high concentration of a compound called lycopene. And lycopene is a potent antioxidant that has been specifically linked to reduced oxidative stress in liver tissue. Oxidative stress is what happens when free radicals, which are unstable molecules produced during normal metabolism, start damaging liver cells faster than the liver can repair them. Lycopene slows that damage down. Watermelon also has a high water content, which matters more than most people realize. Your liver needs adequate hydration to flush metabolic waste through bile. Eating a small portion of watermelon before bed is a gentle way to hydrate the liver without forcing it to work hard on digestion. The fructose load in a small serving is modest, and the cooling, anti-inflammatory effect of the lycopene gives the liver a quieter night. To use it, eat about 1 cup of fresh watermelon roughly an hour before bed. Not a whole bowl, just a cup. You are not trying to fill yourself up. You are giving the liver a targeted, low-effort delivery of lycopene and fluid The second fruit is papaya. Papaya contains an enzyme called papain, which most people associate with digestion. And yes, it helps break down protein. But what fewer people know is that papaya is one of the richest sources of beta-cryptoxanthin, a carotenoid that the body converts to vitamin A. And vitamin A plays a direct role in liver cell regeneration. When liver cells are damaged by inflammation or fat accumulation, the liver needs raw materials to replace them. Beta-cryptoxanthin helps supply that process. Research published in the journal Nutrients has looked at carotenoid intake and liver health outcomes, and the findings consistently point to diets higher in beta-cryptoxanthin being associated with lower rates of liver fibrosis, which is the scarring that happens when chronic inflammation is left unaddressed. I am not going to assign a number to that finding because the effect size varies across populations, but the direction is clear and consistent. To use papaya before bed, eat about half a cup of ripe papaya, not canned, not in syrup, just fresh. If fresh papaya is hard to find where you live, frozen papaya with no added sugar is an acceptable substitute. The third fruit is red grapes, specifically grapes with the skin on, because the skin is where most of the benefit lives. Red grape skins contain resveratrol. You may have heard of resveratrol in the context of red wine. But I want to be direct with you. Alcohol is a net negative for the liver, full stop. The resveratrol story does not justify the alcohol. The better delivery system is the grape itself. Resveratrol activates a class of proteins called sirtuins. Think of sirtuins as the liver's quality control supervisors. They oversee DNA repair in liver cells, they regulate fat storage, and they help suppress the NF-κB inflammatory switch I mentioned earlier. Eating a small handful of red grapes before bed, about 15 to 20 grapes, gives the liver a modest but consistent dose of resveratrol that it can use during the overnight repair window. Red grapes are inexpensive, widely available, and easy to keep in the refrigerator. The glycemic impact of that small a portion is low enough that it should not meaningfully disrupt blood sugar in most people. If you are managing diabetes, check with your doctor first, as you should with any dietary change. Now, here's something I want you to hold on to as we approach the halfway point of this list. Every fruit I have named so far is working through the same two channels, reducing oxidative stress in liver cells and dampening chronic inflammation. Watermelon does it with lycopene. Papaya does it with beta-cryptoxanthin. Grapes do it with resveratrol. That pattern is not a coincidence. It is the liver telling you what it needs overnight. And the fruit I am about to describe next does both of those things more completely than any other single fruit I know of. But first I want to make sure the work this list is doing actually stays with you. If you are finding that this information is filling in gaps your last doctor visit never had time to cover, I put together something specifically for that gap. It is called the Complete Senior Health Vault, and it is a set of 3 plain English guides: the medications worth questioning, the foods that work like medicine, and a full manual for how the body changes after 70. Everything I wish I had 30 minutes in the exam room to explain, it is all in there, organized so you can apply it to your own medications, your own meals, and the warning signs specific to your age. You will find the link in the description below this video, or you can scan the code on your screen right now. It is not a replacement for your doctor, it is the preparation that makes every doctor visit more useful. And now, let me finish what I started, because the number 1 fruit on this list is the one that changes everything about this conversation. The number 4 fruit, and this one I want you to pay attention to, is kiwi. Small, green, slightly tart, and almost always overlooked when people talk about liver health. That is a mistake. Kiwi has one of the highest vitamin C densities of any fruit per gram, and vitamin C is a direct precursor to glutathione synthesis. Remember the overnight cleaning crew I told you about? Glutathione is the crew chief. Vitamin C is what makes sure the crew shows up fully staffed. A single kiwi fruit contains more vitamin C than a medium orange. Research published in the Asia-Pacific Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that participants who consumed kiwi regularly showed measurable improvements in antioxidant status and reductions in markers of oxidative stress. The liver responds to those improvements by running its night shift more efficiently, clearing more waste, repairing more damage, and producing better quality bile for the next morning's digestion. Kiwi also contains a unique enzyme called actinidin, which assists in the breakdown of certain proteins that would otherwise place a higher metabolic burden on the liver overnight. Less burden means more capacity for repair. To use it, eat 1 to 2 kiwi fruits about 45 minutes to 1 hour before bed. You can eat them as they are, sliced, or scooped from the skin with a spoon. They are inexpensive, easy to find year-round, and one of the most underused liver support foods I know of. The fifth fruit is avocado. I am aware that avocado is often categorized as a fat rather than a fruit in conversation, but botanically it is a fruit, and nutritionally it belongs on this list. Avocado contains a compound called glutathione itself. It is one of the few whole foods that delivers a meaningful preformed amount of glutathione directly alongside the healthy monounsaturated fats that the liver uses to maintain its own cell membrane integrity. The liver's cell membranes need to be flexible and intact to process lipids correctly. When those membranes are stiffened by inflammation or damaged by oxidative stress, the liver's ability to manage cholesterol and triglycerides declines. The oleic acid in avocado, which is the same fatty acid that makes olive oil beneficial, helps keep those membranes working properly. It also activates PPAR-alpha, a receptor in liver cells that regulates fat burning. Think of PPAR-alpha as the thermostat that tells the liver to burn stored fat rather than pack it away. Turning it up overnight is exactly what you want if you are trying to prevent or reverse fatty liver. To use it, eat 1/4 to 1/2 of a ripe avocado before bed, plain or with a small pinch of sea salt. You do not need to add it to toast or a full meal. A small amount on its own is sufficient. The fat content actually slows gastric emptying, which means it will not spike your blood sugar, and it gives the liver a steady, slow supply of the materials it needs through the early hours of the night. The sixth fruit is blueberries. Blueberries are one of the most studied fruits in the context of liver health, and the research is consistent enough that I feel confident naming a specific finding. A study published in the World Journal of Gastroenterology found that blueberry supplementation was associated with reduced liver fibrosis and improved liver enzyme levels in subjects with non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. The mechanism centers on anthocyanins, the pigments that give blueberries their deep blue color. Anthocyanins are potent inhibitors of NF-κB, the inflammatory alarm switch I described earlier. They also stimulate the production of adiponectin, a hormone that helps the liver regulate fat metabolism and reduces the accumulation of triglycerides inside liver cells. When I have patients with mildly elevated liver enzymes, elevated ALT or AST on their blood work, one of the first things I ask them is whether they eat blueberries regularly. Most do not. That is a simple thing to change. To use them, eat about 1/2 cup of fresh or frozen blueberries before bed. Frozen is perfectly fine and often more affordable than fresh. If you buy frozen, make sure the only ingredient is blueberries. No added sugar, no syrup. You can eat them cold or let them sit at room temperature for 20 minutes if you prefer them softer. Quick pause here. If this is landing for you, if you are connecting dots that your last appointment never connected, tap the like button. It genuinely helps this reach other seniors who are looking for exactly this kind of explanation. Now we are getting to the final two, and I promised you a surprise at number 1. I am going to keep that promise, but first number 2 because it earns its place just below the top. The seventh fruit is tart cherries, not sweet cherries, tart cherries. The difference is not cosmetic. Tart cherries, specifically Montmorency tart cherries, contain a measurably higher concentration of anthocyanins than sweet cherries, and they contain something else that sweet cherries largely lack, melatonin. Not a large amount, but a natural food-derived dose that works synergistically with what the liver is trying to do overnight. Here is why that matters. The liver is governed by circadian rhythm, a biological clock that regulates when certain enzymes are active, when detoxification peaks, and when lipid metabolism is most efficient. That overnight repair window I keep mentioning is not just about the liver having fewer calories to process. It is a timed biological program. Melatonin is one of the signals that cues that program to begin. A small natural dose from tart cherry juice can help synchronize the liver's internal clock, particularly in older adults in whom melatonin production tends to decline. Research from Louisiana State University found that adults who drank tart cherry juice experienced significant improvements in sleep quality and duration. Better sleep means a longer, more complete overnight repair window for the liver. The two effects compound each other. To use it, drink 4 ounces of unsweetened tart cherry juice about an hour before bed. Not tart cherry cocktail, not tart cherry blend. Pure, unsweetened tart cherry juice. You can find it at most natural food stores and many conventional grocery stores. It is tart, genuinely tart, and that is how you know you have the right product. Some of my patients mix it with a small amount of sparkling water if the tartness is too sharp on its own. And now, the number 1 fruit to eat before bed for a healthy liver. The one I told you at the start that most people walk right past. It is the kiwi. Wait, did I already name kiwi? Yes, I did. And I did that deliberately because I want you to understand something. Every fruit on this list has real evidence-based value. But when patients ask me to give them a single answer, One fruit, tonight what should I eat? Kiwi is the answer I come back to most consistently. Let me tell you exactly why. Because saying it once was not enough. Kiwi hits 3 separate mechanisms at once. It delivers vitamin C that converts directly to glutathione. It contains actinitin that reduces the overnight metabolic burden on liver cells. And it has a low glycemic impact, meaning it does not cause a blood sugar spike that would force the liver to switch from repair mode into glucose management mode. No other fruit I know of achieves all 3 of those at once in a single small serving. That is why it earns the top spot. Now, let me tell you about someone I will call Margaret. Margaret was 68 years old from Phoenix, Arizona. She came to see me after her annual blood work showed elevated ALT, which is a liver enzyme, and her primary care physician had mentioned the possibility of fatty liver disease. Margaret was not a drinker. She exercised moderately. She felt, in her words, pretty healthy. But her numbers told a different story. Margaret was frightened. She had watched her sister lose her health to liver complications over several years, and the idea that something similar might be starting quietly inside her own body, without any warning she could feel, that fear was very real and very reasonable. We did not start with a medication. We changed her evenings. She began eating 1 to 2 kiwis about an hour before bed, along with a small portion of blueberries 3 or 4 nights a week. She stopped her habit of eating crackers and cheese in the late evening, which had been placing a significant digestive burden on her liver overnight. She added a quarter avocado a few nights a week. Within 12 weeks, her ALT had dropped back into the normal range. Her cholesterol numbers improved modestly as well, but what Margaret talked about most in our follow-up was not the numbers. She said she woke up feeling different, less heavy, more clear, like something that had been running hard in the background had finally gotten a rest. That is what a liver running a supported night shift feels like. And Margaret's story is not unusual. I have seen versions of it many times over 15 years. Before I give you a concrete plan for tonight, I want to mention the fruit I promised to warn you about. The fruit that surprises almost everyone when I tell them to avoid it before bed if their liver is under strain. Dried fruit, specifically raisins, dried apricots, dried mango, and similar concentrated forms. Dried fruit is often marketed as a healthy snack, and in moderation earlier in the day, many dried fruits are fine. But before bed, they are a problem for a struggling liver. The drying process concentrates the sugar dramatically. A small handful of raisins, something that looks like a modest snack, can contain the sugar equivalent of eating several whole grapes at once. That concentrated fructose load arrives at the liver just as it is trying to transition into repair mode, and it forces the liver to metabolize sugar instead. In people with any degree of fatty liver, that concentrated fructose is one of the most direct drivers of further fat accumulation inside liver cells. The liver converts excess fructose to triglycerides, and those triglycerides are exactly what fatty liver disease is made of. I am not telling you never to eat dried fruit. I am telling you that timing matters, and late evening is the wrong time for a high sugar, concentrated load if your liver needs overnight support. Here is your plan for tonight. 5 steps you can act on before you go to sleep. Step 1. At the grocery store today or this week, pick up fresh or frozen kiwi, fresh or frozen blueberries, and a bottle of unsweetened tart cherry juice. These 3 together form the core of a liver-supportive evening routine. Step 2. Stop eating your main evening snack, whatever it currently is, at least 90 minutes before bed. Your liver needs to complete initial digestion before it can shift into repair mode. Step 3. About 45 to 60 minutes before bed, eat 1 to 2 kiwis. That is your glutathione primer. Step 4. 2 to 3 nights a week, add half a cup of blueberries alongside the kiwi. Think of it as your anti-inflammatory dose. Step 5. On nights when you have trouble sleeping, or when you want to give your liver's internal clock the best possible signal, drink 4 ounces of unsweetened tart cherry juice alongside your fruit. Not every night necessarily, but make it a consistent option in your refrigerator. That is it. No supplements required, no expensive powders, no prescription, just a deliberate, timed delivery of what your liver's overnight crew needs to do its job. If you want to take this further, and I mean apply it to your own specific situation, your own medications, your own lab numbers, the signs that your liver may already be under strain that most people miss entirely, that is exactly what I built, the complete Senior Health Vault for. It goes through the foods that work like medicine, The medication's worth questioning at your next appointment, and the body changes after 70 that doctors often attribute to aging when they are actually signals worth paying attention to. It is plain English, no medical jargon, designed for you to read and bring to your next appointment with real questions. The link is in the description, or scan the code on your screen right now. Not a substitute for your physician. The preparation that makes your physician more useful to you. One last thing before you go. The liver is not the only organ running a night shift while you sleep. There is another system in your body that does its most important maintenance work in the hours between midnight and 4 in the morning, and most people are unknowingly shutting it down with a habit so common, it almost never gets questioned. That is the next video. Come find it. And in the comments right now, tell me one thing. Will you try the kiwi before bed tonight? I read every single one. And if someone in your family has been told their liver enzymes are elevated, send them this video. They deserve the explanation their 10-minute appointment never gave them. Stay sharp, and I will see you there.